Okay, welcome to Bitrix24 Live. I'm Damien Edwards. I'm the commercial manager of Bitrix24 Gold Partners interface. We're based in the UK and we have offices in the US and the UAE. Our contact details are on the screen. Get in touch with us if you want a one-to-one demo or have any custom requirements or training requirements for Bitrix24. With me, I have our technical manager, Andy Naylor.
Hi guys, so we're going to be here for the next hour answering any questions that you may have on Bitrix24. So whether you're using the free version of Bitrix or one of the commercial cloud packages through to the on-premise, we can show you on each one of those systems the answers to your questions. So do please put your questions in the box provided on YouTube. And we can answer them as we go along. We do try and stay on for the full 1 hour session as long as we keep getting those questions in. If you have any questions that come to you during the week, please do send them to sales@intraface.com, and we usually start each live session off with those questions that we've been asked throughout the week. So I think some have already come in.
Yeah, we've got some questions in. Here we go. Can I see where space is being used up on my system? Andy can show you this. I think we can do quite a bit on this now, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So each one of the Bitrix systems has, if you go into the drive, this is where your documents are managed. And then now we have an option for drive cleanup. And once we click on that, it actually tells us actually how, in terms of the size, how much space is being used up with documents that you've put into the recycle bin. But this is just viewing it in a simple mode here. If we actually click on the advanced mode, what we can actually see is we can see a breakdown of the amount of space, for example, each individual is using. So we have a user called John Smith, Josie Smith here, so you can see John Smith's the biggest user of space on here, but we can actually order it as well. So most of our documents are stored in the common documents, and then we have a whole range of different areas where the documents are being used. So that is a good breakdown of how many documents are within each particular user, particular document drive, or particular work group. And then from that point, you can then break it down a little bit further and remove those off the system. This is available on both the on-premise version, which we're on at the moment, and it is also available on the cloud version. So if I go to Bitrix24 Drive, it's just named a little bit differently on the cloud version. Click on here, and then we would generally do a scan, and then from that scan we're going to get an up-to-date version of where space is being used on the system. So it's particularly important if you do have one of the lower packages. So whether you've got a free cloud, I think free cloud you get 5 gig of space. So it might be that you want to clean that up and actually free up some space so you can remain on that package.
Okay, can I skip weekends and holidays on tasks? So I guess the question is about skipping to do with time management on tasks. Let's have a look. I think there is something you can do on that to exclude kind of weekends. Let's go on this one, have a look at these. Where's our tasks in the hidden section? So if we open up a task, there are some settings here. So we can set a duration for the task in terms of number of days, and it will automatically calculate a finish time for us. What can we do? Skip weekends and holidays. Okay, so that's it there. So you can skip weekends. So what that will mean is that it will only calculate 10 days that I'm actually working, so it's take off my holidays and any weekends that I've got over that period. So that's quite a useful thing to do. Looks like by default it selects that, kind of makes sense to have that, but for some organisations that might not be right. So there's quite a few different settings there you can do around managing time, being able to record time spent on tasks.
Got a couple of questions that have come in on YouTube. So I've got a no server connection alert appeared at the top of the screen. Any idea? So I guess, you're going to get a no server connection is related. If you've got an on-premise, it's related to the push and pull module. So I'll just show you where that is within Bitrix. So the on-premise version, if we go into the control panel, click into settings, click into system settings, into module settings, and then push and pull. So generally your no server connection is related to this. So just make sure that you have the correct settings established in here. You may also get it if, for example, you don't have an active SSL certificate. So if you're if you're using the system on an IP address, maybe, so an on-premise on the IP, that could have happened. It could be a whole range of different options. Another one on the on-premise is ports may be closed. So you definitely need the port 80, 443, 8893 and 8894 open as a minimum. So that, again, want to check that. And if you are having if you've tried those different methods, what I would probably, as your final check, I would click into Tools, click into System Check, and then start the test here. So start the Internet Operability Test and also run the configuration check, and then you will be able to actually see any issues that your system is currently having. So those are the first port of call. If you're still having problems, either get in touch with us, we'll put our contact details back up in a little bit, or get in touch with Bitrix through their live chat support, and they'll be able to assist you with that.
Okay, is there a way to delete created fields versus just hiding them? It's a pain to go through all the fields on the backside and figure out what fields you need when creating documents. So let's have a look. Yeah, you can delete fields. I assume you're talking about the CRM, but you can do the same, create custom fields in tasks as well. Let's go into a lead inside here. So your fields, visible fields, are on the left-hand side here, and you've got two buttons to here: select fields and add fields. Add fields creates a new field. This one would select from the existing fields, so that whether they're existing fields out of the box or fields that you created which are custom. So yeah, you can't, so in this front end, I guess this is where you're stuck. You can't delete these fields. All you can do is I can select additional fields. Let's put the status field in there, and I can hide these fields. So that's it, show or hide. Once you've done that, you can then you've got two different form views. So if you're an administrator, you can adjust the common form view. So that allows you to create a view that's replicated in everyone's system. So if you want to delete fields, you need to go into your settings.
While Damien is just going here, if you're trying to remove standard fields that exist in Bitrix, so anything from UTM parameters through to available to everybody, you can't delete standard fields. You could only delete the fields that Damien's just about to show you in the custom field section.
Yeah, so if it's a custom field, it will exist inside here, and you can delete these from this list here. So that should do it for you.
Got another one. I created one custom drop down in the lead form. However, I am unable to see that drop down in the mobile app. Kindly suggest. So some fields on the cloud version aren't actually possible to view on the mobile app. So some of your custom fields are not available to view. You would need to upgrade to an on-premise, and With the on-premise version, you can actually customize the mobile app a little bit more. So we can make sure every custom field that's created on Bitrix is visible on the mobile app. There are a few restrictions in terms of what the mobile app can show on if you're on a cloud version, unfortunately.
Okay, is there a way to manage users and permissions, like assign them to modules before they join or sign in? So on the cloud, there isn't a way to do this. Simply, you create your users and then you assign them. So you're talking about assigning them to modules before they join. Well, you can't really assign users to individual modules. You give each user will have access to tasks. They'll have access to the CRM. You can restrict them from accessing the CRM if you want to, the whole CRM. But they'll see whatever tasks they have. They're granted access to see. They'll see what the work groups they're granted access to see. So there isn't a platform. There isn't a page where you can create a profile for each individual user like that on the cloud edition. Apart from in the CRM. So if we go into the CRM quickly, I'll show you what you can do on the self-hosted to do this much better. But if you're on the cloud, then if we go into the CRM and settings. And then you've got permissions inside here. So if you click in the permissions, you create your roles up here, then you assign them to users. If a user's not assigned a role, they won't see even the CRM link. So if they're not in one of these groups here, this is a work group called LineCom. If they're not in that group, or they're not one of these individual specified users here, then they don't see the CRM. So you can only really do it on the CRM, add them or not to the CRM.
Yeah, I mean, some of the new modules, for example, CRM marketing, do have their own access permissions. So if you want to grant them access to CRM marketing, the same with sites and the same with online store. So some of the newer modules in Bitrix, you can grant access permissions to those particular users. But as Damien said, the rest of it is generally... So tasks, for example, they're always going to have access to the tasks module, but they won't have access to everybody's tasks. How the tasks modules work is if somebody assigns you a task, then you're going to see that task.
Yeah.
So it's permissions based on the assigning of the actual task itself.
And by default, I believe that they don't have access to any of these when they're a new user, so you need to grant them access. So once you set them up, you then give them access to what you want to give them access to after that. So if we have a look at the self-hosted edition, and if we go to the control panel there, and we go to manage users, you have a list of users here, and each user is then assigned to a user group. So we look in user groups, and let's open up one of these user groups. So this one user group is called employees, and we can see the access level that those people that belong to that user group have. So they've got quite a lot of different, or all the modules that exist with an access level. So CRM here, we can set the permissions on that, but not only CRM, all the other modules in the system. So if you want to do it like that, create a profile for each user, you can do it on the self-hosted. You create your user group profile, and then when you create that user, you add them to that profile. So it can be done exactly as you want it on the self-hosted edition.
So I've got another question. SMS integration that you guys recommend. You're using SMS alert. Feels sometimes it doesn't want to send the text. So the one that we've used two, essentially. So we've used, let's just go into the cloud version and go into the application store itself. So applications. So for those of you that are new into Bitrix, you can easily install third-party applications. So if we were to type in SMS here, click on search, then it would bring up all the available SMS providers that come with Bitrix. Now, the one that we would recommend is either Plivo SMS. So Plivo SMS is a third-party application, but you would need a Plivo account and this is really good. You can replace the number that you essentially rent off Plivo with your company name. So when you send an SMS out of Bitrix, it will have your company name instead of the number. So this is really useful. But the other one, and probably most powerful, is the Twilio SMS to CRM. So the difference with this one compared to any other is it actually allows you to receive messages as well. So if you were to send a message to a contact in the CRM and they were to respond to that message, this Twilio SMS to CRM will actually take that reply and put it back into the contact that you originally sent it from. So this is probably the most powerful one of them all. There is a charge for this, however, so I would look into that. So it all depends if you want those replies to come back into Bitrix. So, and you would need a Twilio account as well. But one of the benefits of having a Twilio account is also the possibility of integrating WhatsApp. So Bitrix also offers a WhatsApp integration with the contact center. And then we have the WhatsApp here. And then you have Connect WhatsApp via Twilio.
Okay, what are my options if I want to integrate my existing telephone number into Bitrix24? Let's have a look under telephony. So you do have options. If you've got a telephone number with your current provider, if they can provide SIP trunks, then you can route that number through to Bitrix telephony system. So have a look, is it into this one? So, okay, not that one. See if we can find it. It's been moved. I'm not too sure where it's been moved to. So you can, PBX, one of these, isn't it? Yes. So you can rent the SIP Bitrix24 SIP connector. It's $49 a month. So the provider your number is rented from, the current number is rented from, would need to allow what they call SIP trunks. So you just need to ask them that. If they do, you can rent this. You'll get the settings that you need from your provider, and you can connect it up. Just need to add these values in here. I guess if you want to get in touch with us, we could help you do this connection for you. So that would allow you to make and receive calls inside Bitrix. You can then integrate Bitrix with if you have a telephone system, whether it's a virtual or physical or virtual cloud system, we can connect Bitrix with that telephone system. That means you can receive calls inside Bitrix. You still have a billing relationship with your existing provider, but the number gets integrated as well. Those two ways really, doing the integration or renting the SIP connector. If you're doing the integration, you need to be on either on a compatible system. Integration. Where did it move to? You need to be on a compatible system. So things like Ring Central, FreePBX, 3CX are compatible systems. We have integration ready to go for those. If you're on a system that doesn't have pre-built integration, then there's an API and we can develop the integration for you, but there's a charge for it. We're going to see in a minute which systems are compatible.
I think if we just go into
so you can see there, FreePBX is the one we recommend. Really any asterisk based system we can integrate. We worked a bit with Ring Central as well and 3CX. It's those three really three main systems that are. If you don't have a system at the moment, we'd recommend using FreePBX and we can set up the integration for you. So if we do the full integration, you don't pay the $59 a month for the Bitrix SIP connector, but you potentially pay something to us to set it up.
So you've got another question. In workflows, how can one access the parameter fields outside of the workflow? Is it possible to develop a separate page? And by outside, does it mean as part of the record where the workflow is finished? So when you select the parameters, the parameters are essentially the form fields that pop up that are required before you run it. You wouldn't essentially be able to enter in the parameter at the end of the field, at the end of the workflow. The only way you would be able to do it is if I go into workflows and just show you, click into, workflows in the activity stream, and just give you an example. So we'll have a leave approval, click into actions and click into configure workflows. And let's go into an actual workflow that exists. So if I was to set a parameter here, and I can just set, let's just call it approver. And then we'll link to an employee. So we have link to employee here. Click on OK and click on save. So if I was to click apply and then we'll go and run this, just so everybody understands what a parameter is. If I now go to more, workflow, and then click on leave approval, the parameter you can see here, incoming parameters, it would require you to select it. You can't actually have a parameter available at the end. What we would probably generally recommend to do is if you want somebody to fill in some information at the end of a workflow, we would, if I just find some tasks, I do believe, the additional information work block. So if I put this in after an approval, for example, what you can do in the additional information block is actually build yourself a form here. So if I click on add field and then I click on approver here again, and then you can click on approve, again we'll link to employee, click on save. What that will do is, I think we need to send it to a particular user. So if I said Matt Smith, who I'm logged in as, and then we give it a name as well here. So
the ones in bold are mandatory fields. It's usually at the top couple, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so you need to provide somebody who's going to provide this information. You need to give it a name. I would give it a description, but you can see here this is the form field you're going to build. So what would happen here is somebody would submit the leave request. It would get approved here, and then the person who we highlighted, Max Smith, would then have to provide the information. So if I just move this right to the top again, just to show you, and let's just go to our workflow here. And the good thing is with that additional information block, you can actually feed the information that they put back. So if I said today till tomorrow, absence type is annual leave. I just upload a document here as well. And then we'll select a user here, Mike Smith. Click on save, send. And what that's going to do is going to trigger that additional information block. So if I click on workflows now, you can see it says provide approver, which was the block that I named it. Click on start, and it will have a form field in here. So you can see approver, click on select, and then I would be able to change the approver here. So it's sort of providing you the parameters that you can need then feed back into this. You can remove the comment box if you didn't need it. So if I click on save now, that will then continue, and you can now see that we have the approval block for the actual leave workflow. So try the additional information if you do want people to access the parameters at the end.
Okay, how can I configure business process templates for document approval? Just one time for all work groups. Also, though generated from automation rules or from generate from automation rules or from workflow. So you want to create a business process, document approval, just one time for all work groups. So I mean, there is, I think you mentioned, there are some standard ones, but I think you're probably not happy with that. It's just a quick look though at work groups and what we have in a work group. So if you go into a work group by default inside the drive, you have business processes. These business processes, 6, 7 business processes, you're looking for an approval. So we've got this sort of first approval or two-stage approval. So the first approval, just one person approves. Two-stage goes to one person, then to the second for approval, and then you can change the status of the document. So those exist by default every time you create a work group. If you created your own business process and you want that to populate in a work group, then you're going to need to do it differently, and you're going to need a self-hosted edition of Bitrix to do that. So we just show you, let's go to the activity stream. So we have workflow, no, we don't have one in there. So what we want is a workflow that generates a work group for you. So
I think with regards to this, is talking about the drive.
In the
drive business processes for the rather than. So if we were to go into a work group, for example, and click into here, and look at the business processes here. I think this is what we're referring to for document approval. When somebody uploads a document into a workgroup drive, how can you have it default set to every workgroup that you upload a document to? I think that's what it's with regards to it says.
Well, I don't know then, we'll leave that then. My understanding is you want to create a business process that runs on a work group for every work group. Maybe you just want to clarify what you want.
Yeah, because I mean, the business process templates for work groups are generally, you can install all these, and if it is an approval for a document within here, then it should, if you were to create a business process in here, would it be reflected on all? I don't think it would it? It would be on all work group drives. I think you would have to essentially click in here, click on edit, then you would need to export it and then import it into another drive. But then maybe, yeah, if you can provide some clarification, that would be good.
Okay, I checked push and pull settings and I found virtual appliance 7.3 and later as default. I don't understand the question. I mean,
so it's with regard. So that one was with regards to the first question and no server connection. So, and you also started a system check and no related issues. Yeah, you're going to need to. It's very difficult to diagnose on live. There can be a number of issues. Maybe check your ports are open, and if not, like I say, you can get in touch with us. If you just put our contact details up on the screen, or you can either get in touch with us and we can have a look, or Bitrix, if you get in touch with Bitrix24 live chat, they'll be able to tell you the other places to check. It's quite hard to diagnose issues on live without seeing your system and your server.
Okay, any workaround on tasks? Scenario is, should not be able to finish a task when a checklist is not complete. So there are workarounds on tasks, particularly if you have a self-hosted edition. Pretty sure, when you probably check this yourself already, pretty sure you can't restrict finishing a task. You can't link that to completion of checklists. So let's have a look what settings you've got in there. But there certainly are workarounds that you can do if you had a self-hosted edition. So these are the checklists. You've got some checklists in here. And you want some sort of restriction. Let's just edit the task and see if there's any settings, but I'm pretty sure you probably know already there aren't any settings in there.
I think the only place it would be in here if there were. I know there isn't. It's been asked quite a few times. The checklist module is fairly new. They've updated it recently in Bitrix, so I wouldn't say it was out of the question to come at a later date, but there isn't any facility to complete a task.
Yeah.
When a checklist. Yeah.
Okay. Just post your questions in the chat window if you've got any more questions. Let's see if we've got any more came in earlier. When I progress a lead to a deal, will it bring through the custom field I have created? So it will. So now if you create a custom field in a lead and that field's populated with some data, then when you convert it to a deal, it will automatically create that copy that field into the deal as well, and copy that data across. So it does it all for you. I think it gives you a prompt to say, do you want to create this new field in the deal, and do it for you. If I change the URL of the system, so it doesn't show Bitrix24. Oh, well, I guess you're asking if you can change the URL of the system so it doesn't show Bitrix24. So you can, on the self-hosted, you're going to host it on your own domain anyway. You have to do that. You have to pick a domain, and then you set it up on that domain. So that's by default on.
Yeah, I think on the cloud version you do need a professional cloud, and if you do have a professional cloud, then once you go into the system, click on the pencil. We've already set our domain name on here. You can only do it once, just to pre-warn you. But click on the pencil, and then it will ask you whether you want a Bitrix24 domain or if you want your own domain name. And if you want your own, then you need to point it to Bitrix. So I do believe that removing the Bitrix24.com out of the domain, you can only do that on a professional package.
Yeah. Is there a limit to the number of CRM forms I can create? Not that I know. I don't think there's any limit on those. That sort of thing. If you go to Bitrix24.com and click on the prices tab, it gives you a comparison. The price comparison chart shows you what's available in each of the packages, and any restrictions are highlighted there. I'm pretty sure there's no limit to the number of forms that you can create, so that's good for you.
Is it possible that you could speak about the back end a little bit? I would like to hear your opinion on developing components. What should be considered when doing this? So, I mean, we're not developers ourselves. We've got developers in-house here, and developing on the on-premise version does require, I would say, somebody that obviously knows PHP but also knows the Bitrix24 framework. I can send you over some development guides. If we were to ever develop components, then especially if we were developing some components, we would generally use the information blocks in here. So one example that we created would be, we created a sidebar banner. This is a pretty simple component creation, but we created an info block for the sidebar banner, which therefore then created the configuration aspect for the sidebar banner here, so we can add our own banners to the side on our extranet. And then we included the component in a in one of the templates we inserted it in. So I guess if you want to learn a little bit more about developing Bitrix components, I would recommend having a look at there is a developers course, I do believe, in Bitrix, so I would have a look at that. But from this session, I don't think we would be able to go too much into the development side. Like I say, we have in-house developers here.
Okay, I don't think we've got any more questions, but if you want to post your questions, we've got some more time left. We can answer those questions. Maybe you want to just follow up with a question about business process templates for drives. We can try and answer that. Can I add standard holidays to the company calendar that will then apply to all resources?
I think that question came through from one of our clients in the week, and essentially what it was referring to is if somebody was to try and add a task to somebody that maybe wasn't working on a particular holiday, so for example Christmas, would it restrict that person? And the simple answer is no, it wouldn't restrict that if it was just looking at one of the holidays that you would put into the calendar settings. So if I click on here, you'll be able to see that we have weekends and holidays as a default setting, so we can insert all our national holidays and make sure that they're in the particular calendar. Now that just doing that wouldn't restrict you adding a task for somebody that over that period of the holiday. What you would need to do is add them into the absence chart for that holiday period. So if I was to make a user, so if I was to select from the structure here and say Jake is on sick leave from a particular date, so we would say from yesterday through to the end of the week, click on add. What that would do is that would then put a little icon next to Jake's name when we were trying to assign him a task, and it would actually say that the user is off, is absent, so it would prompt you. You can still override that and add the task, but it does give you a little icon with a for an absence on the user's avatar, and then yeah, it would prompt you to be able to stop adding them a particular task.
Any recommendations on cost centers for projects? So you can't, on a project within Bitrix, you can't allocate a cost or necessarily allocate those work groups. Allocate, let's go into this one, allocate costs to a project, but there is a way of doing something that might help. So you can create a work group or a project inside Bitrix. They're very similar. They look like this. It allows you to communicate, add tasks to assign work to people, and then you've got a drive and a calendar. There's no financial elements to this, so you can't put in a cost on, say, on a task and then distribute the cost of the project across the tasks. There's no sort of finances in it at all, so it's not really for managing that. But you can create lists. So if you wanted to keep a list of expenses associated with that project, we've got a list here. It shows me what the item was, who the user was, the value, and the date, and you can create any columns. So if you want to control some costs, whether that's materials you've spent on a project, you can create a list for that. Expenses you spent on it. If you want to create a list of purchase orders or something, or keep a track on resources. We've got another one here, sort of inventory. If there's a list of products that you need to allocate to that project, you can keep a list of inventory. So yeah, you need to create that list to do that. That's the only way to do it.
Got a question. Is it easy to switch from the cloud version of Bitrix24 to the self-hosted version? So yeah, it is pretty straightforward. All you would need to do is, I would probably recommend getting a partner involved, because all you would need to do is submit a request to Bitrix, and what Bitrix will do is take a backup of your cloud version. And it usually schedules 2 to 3 days. We would usually schedule it in. That would then give you a file to extract, and then you can restore that file onto an on-premise system. It's important to note that you do need to purchase the on-premise license before you plan on migrating, because Bitrix need to assign the backup of your cloud to an activated on-premise license. So, and we need to provide them with the URL of your new system so everything can be updated. But it is quite straightforward. Like I say, we've got quite a lot of experience of moving a whole range of different cloud systems on Bitrix, so free through to professional, and deploying them on whether it's your own server or whether it's a partner server. We've done that many times. So please do get in touch with us. We'll put our contact details up at the end of this session, and we can assist with that if it's something that you're looking at doing.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any any outstanding questions, so put our contact details up for a minute too. But if you want to get in touch with us afterwards with any questions you have, if you want a demo of the system, you can tell us what you want to see. We'll set up a live demo for you. But that's all we have for now. So thank you for your time. Bye for now.